Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your channel of Math and Engineering Made Easy. In today's session, I want to start doing the math portion of the SAT test. So I have mock-up exam, a practice one. So I'll try to finish the first part. Excuse my voice, I have a bad cold, so I hope it's not bothering you. Um, The first portion consists of 20 problems, and you are not allowed to use a calculator in it. Okay, so we'll try to do that to the best of our abilities. Let me see if I can. I think I need to zoom it a little bit so you can see it better. Let's see. Okay, so let's start. You have 25 minutes to do 20 problems, so roughly a minute and what, 12 seconds? Okay, so the first problem says the graph shows the cost in the Y in dollars of installing a vinyl privacy fence. The company charges a flat installation fee. So just to show up, they charge you a fee. And then they take a cost per linear foot. So whether you are going to hire them or tell them, no, I'm sorry, I changed my mind, they will get the flat fee. And then for every hour, they charge you a cost, not for every hour, I'm sorry, for every linear foot of fencing. So based on this graph, how much does one linear foot of this particular vinyl fence cost? You can see here that 150 is the flat rate. Why? Because the linear feet is zero. So just showing up, they get $150. Now you try to see another point that you can read. For example, I think I can read this one at 5 linear feet. The cost is 225. So cost per linear foot equals, this is 225 and that's 150. So 225 minus 150 divided by 5. That's the cost of 5 linear feet. The numerator is 75 over 5 is $15. So you select B. Notice, you don't want to waste time. The second one, which of the following expressions is equivalent to the expression shown above? If you look carefully, in fact, just by looking, I see the answer, right? Why? Because the numerator, all the numbers are divisible by 12, like the denominator, and this is x squared. So if I divide the first element, 24 over 12 is 2, x to the 4 divided by x squared is x squared, plus 36 over 12 is 3, x cubed over x squared is x. Negative, 12x squared over 12x squared is 1, and that's C, right? Yeah, C. These problems shouldn't take long. Okay, the triangle is not drawn to scale. They tell you have these distances, and triangle ABC and DBE are similar, meaning they have the same angles. And you know, for similar triangles, the ratio between the sides is constant, meaning DE over AC, which is 4 over 6, or 2/3, is the same as BE over BC, is the same as BD over BA, and so on and so forth. So equals BE, which we want to find its value, over BE plus 2. Now, if I cross multiply, I get 2BE plus 2 times 2 is 4 equals 3BE. And finally, I subtract 2BE from both sides. So I get BE equals 4, which is C again. The next one, give you a function, a parabola, a quadratic function. So which one is the equation? Of course, we don't have a calculator, we're not going to draw. But what we know, two things. The first thing is that since this parabola is opening down, then the leading coefficient, meaning the multiplier of x squared is negative. So I can exclude C and D because that says 1/3 and 3. And these two are positive, right? Now, what else I know? I know that the vertex is satisfied by the equation of x minus 2, meaning my x is at 2, right? Because you are going to subtract. So A is the answer. This one will be shifted 4 units to the left, meaning its vertex would be here. If it were x plus 2, right? Because I need to add 2 to make it 0. Here I need to subtract 2, so it should be A. So BC, CA. That's the first page. The second page, question number 5. Oh my God. So I'm wasting time. If line L shown here is reflected over the x-axis, so if it looks like that, okay, what is the slope of the new line? You should know that this slope is the same as that slope. The only difference is the sign, because the inclination is the same, right? So the slope of this point right here is -4 and -3. And this point is 4 and 1. So the slope of this line is 1 minus -3 over 4 minus -4. It's 1 plus 3, 4 over 4 plus 4, 8 is 1/2. So the slope of this line, if I rotate, not rotate it, if I reflect it over the x, would be the negative of that. So it's -1/2. Okay. Notice some people would select -2, but -2 would be the line perpendicular to that. When you reflect it, you get something like this. You don't get it perpendicular. So be careful with these minor things, because some people say, oh, I know there is the negative reciprocal. No, that's if they are perpendicular. If they tell you what is the slope of the line perpendicular to L, you would have said -2, but this one is -1/2. Okay. Next one, they give you a value of P, Q, R, and they say, what is 2P? So you can do it exactly. So 2P, meaning I'm going to multiply P by 2. I get 8x cubed plus 2x minus 4. And then it says minus Q plus R. Q is x squared minus 1. And R is, notice I'm adding them. So I simply write them in the same parentheses. And now I have 8x cubed minus x, I'm sorry, 8x cubed. There is only 8x cubed. There is nothing else. So I can exclude A. And then for the x squared, I have -x squared, -x squared. So now I still all three of them. 2x minus 3x is -x. So now I excluded D. And finally, I have -4 minus -1, meaning -3. Right? Because that's positive. And then minus -5, so plus 5. I have 4, -4 plus 1 plus 5 is positive 2. So this is the equation. Or you can combine these and write them as x squared plus 3x minus 6. So instead of doing the subtraction twice, you say -4 minus -6 is -4 plus 6 is positive 2. Number 7, which of the following are the roots of the equation? We know the roots of the equation. You find them using the quadratic formula. -b, b here is 4, this is A, this is B, this is C. So plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 16, minus 4 times A is 8, times C, which is -3, it would be -24. So minus -24 is positive 24, divided by twice A. If A is 2, you divide by 4. So you see, it has to be one of these two, because you are going to divide -4 by 4. So you get -4 plus or minus the square root of 40 over 4. But I know that 40 can be written as 4 times 10. So if I take 4 out, That would be negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 10 over 4. I can simplify top and bottom by 2. Wait a second. Did I do this correctly? Yeah, it is. So when I simplify by 2, I get negative 2 plus or minus root 10 over 2, which is A. Negative 2, yeah, it's A. Okay, now we are going to move to number 8. It says if g of x is that and h of that, what point does the graph of g of x intersect with h of x? They intersect when the equation is the same. So I write 3x minus 5 equals 7x plus 10 over 4. Multiply both sides by 4. The left-hand side stays 7x plus 10. The right-hand side, you distribute the 4, so you get 12x minus 20. Now, I subtract 7x from both sides, so to move the x's to the left, and then I'm going to add 20 to both sides to move. So instead of doing it on 2 steps, I do it in a single step. 12 minus 7 is 5x. 10 plus 20 is 30. X equals 30 over 5 equals 6. If x is 6, you can substitute in any one. Probably this is easier. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 minus 5 is 13. So 6 and 13 is D. In fact, it's the only one that has 6 as x. But we say, what if we had made an error? If I try 6 and I get, say, 6 and 17, I know that I made an error and I go back and do it. So it's safer to do it this way. They say if x equals k to the negative 1/3 and x and k are positive, which of the following equations gives k in terms of x? So I want to solve k in terms of x. The quickest way, of course, we know that if I have x to the a and I raise it to the b, it becomes x to the a times b, right? So I want to raise this to something to make it k because I'm solving for k. So I can say x equals k to the negative 1/3. What do I need to multiply that by to make it 1? Of course, negative 3. So I raise this to the negative 3 and this to the negative 3. K to the negative 1/3 to the negative 3 is k, or k to the 1. X to the negative 3 is 1 over x to the 3rd power, which is a. Okay. So far, so good. Number 10, we'll reach the half the problem. If the equation shown has infinitely many solutions, what is the meaning of infinitely many solutions? That when you solve, there would be no x's. You will get like 4 equals 4 or 10 equals 10, something that no matter what x is always satisfied. So here we can, in the left-hand side, when we simplify that and combine like terms, negative times negative is positive. So I get 6x minus 10 equals c times 3x minus 5. Notice that this can be simplified. If I factor out 2, what a surprise. I get 3x minus 5, and sure enough, c equals 2. You see that if c equals 2, you will get 3x minus 5 equals 3x minus 5. So no matter what value of x you choose, the left-hand side would definitely be equal to the right-hand side. So this equation would be satisfied. Number 11. If 1 minus a over 3 is greater than 0, less than or equal to 1/2, which point out of these, which of the following is not a possible value of a? I thought they would say a possible value of a. Okay, so first of all, we have to write this as an equality on a. So for example, I can get rid of the 1 by subtracting 1 from both sides. So I say negative a over 3 is greater than negative 1, and it's less than or equal to negative 1/2, right? And then I can multiply by negative 3 to get a by itself. But guess what? When you multiply by negative 3, you reverse the inequalities. So this, instead of being less than or equal, become greater than or equal. And if this, instead of being is greater than that, would be less than that. So let's multiply everything by -3. That would be A. By -3, I get 3. By -3, I get 3 halves. Okay, 1.5. 1.5 is 3 halves, so that's the answer. You see, if you say 2, no, wait a second. Did I do something wrong? Yes, I must. I must have. We subtracted 1. We subtracted 1 from all sides, and then we multiplied by -3. So this times -3 is +3. And this by -3 is greater than 3 halves. Oh, they want, again, my mind is that I thought which one satisfies. So when I found 2 of them satisfying, I said, it can be. Again, I read it incorrectly. 2.5, yeah, it's between 1.5 and 3. So definitely 3. Oh, but this is 3. No, this is less than 3. So the correct answer is again D. Notice that 3 is not greater than 3. If I had the less than, or A is less than or equal, that would be correct, and I wouldn't have, all 4 points would have been satisfying that. So be careful when you get something like that. Move to number 12. If the system of inequalities shown had no solution, what is the value of K? Again, okay, so we can get rid of the X or the Y. I think the Y is easy. I have a Y here, and I have a -1/2. So if I multiply this equation by 2 and add it to that, I will have -Y plus Y, they cancel each other. Then I have 2x over k minus 2x over k is less than or equal to -2. 0 is less than or equal to -2, which is an absurdity. No, 0 is greater than -2. So there is no value of k that would make this inequality work. D, there are infinitely many values of k. In fact, all values of k except 0 would result in no solution. That's why they didn't say all values. Okay? Any value of k, you will have 2x over k minus 2x over k is 0, no matter what k is, unless it's 0, because you can divide by 0. So you have infinite values. Pick any value, decimal or integer, positive or negative, and your left-hand side would be 0. But since the 0 is greater than -2, this equation will never be satisfied. Okay, what value or values of x satisfy the equation above? Alrighty, you see that this guy is 2. It's like this, 2 times x minus 7. So you can take 2 times x minus 7 as a common denominator. And then this will be multiplied by 2 because it's divided by x minus 7 only. So this would be 8x plus 2x equals 70. 10x over 2 times x minus 7 equals 70 over 2 times x minus 7. Of course, you can simplify the 2's, and people would divide the top by 10 and say x equals 7 and pick B. They put that as like they are tricking you. That's a trick, okay? The answer is not 7. Why isn't it 7? Look at the denominator. If you say x equals 7, what do you get? Yep, you get 0. So we are saying 10x divided by 0 equals 70 divided by 0. No, we can't do that. X equals 7, even though it's the only one that you get for the numerator, is not a valid answer, so no solution. This is a tricky one. I see people would say, okay, I'm going to simplify by multiplying both sides by x plus 7. and they cancel x minus 7 with x minus 7 and x minus 7 with x minus 7, and then divide both sides by 10 and say x equals 7, not realizing that x cannot be 7. Okay, so, and they tell you any value such that x doesn't equal 7, but what any value? 6, for example? No, 10 times 6 is not 70. And so no value will satisfy that. The circle shown is given by the equation x squared plus y squared plus 6x minus 4y equals 12. What is the shortest distance from A to B? Of course, the shortest distance is not that, it's the diameter, right? So we have to find this equation, the equation of this circle. How do we do it? We complete the squares. So how do I complete that? If the x squared coefficient is 1, all what you have to do is to divide this by 2 and then square it. The coefficient. 6 over 2 is 3, square is 9. So I add 9 here and there. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Square is positive 4, so plus 4 plus 4. So this equation, which is x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared, meaning the center here is at negative 3 and positive 2, we don't care about that, equals 2125, which is 5 squared, or r squared. So r equals 5. Definitely they put 5 as the answer, but the distance is the diameter, not the radius. So somebody can do all the work correctly and then pick the wrong answer. So the diameter equals 2r equals 10, which is B. Number 15. If g is a function defined over the set of all real numbers and g of x minus 1 is that, then which of the following is g of x? Well, if you want to find g of x, you have to add 1 to the x minus 1, right? So every time I see an x, I make it x plus 1. Why? Because if I make that x plus 1 minus 1, I get g of x. So the answer would be 3 times x plus 1 square, not x, plus 5 times x plus 1 minus 7. This guy is 3 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 5x plus 5 minus 7. So I get 3. When you distribute the 3, you get 3x squared plus 6x plus 3. And then I have 5 plus 5 is 10 minus 7. Oh, I'm sorry, this is 5x minus 2, right? So eventually I get 3x squared. You add these two, you get 11x. And 3 minus 2 is 1, positive 1, which is C. Yeah, C. Okay, so far it took us 23 minutes. I know, because we are explaining it. So if you are only solving, and some of them, probably the first page, just by inspection, you should find the answers. Retail businesses strive to price their products so that they sell as many as possible without losing money. If we have the supply and demand graphs, and usually they are not straight lines, but they make it easy for you here, the point of intersection is called the economic equilibrium, meaning the supply equals the demands. If I do more supply than demand, I lose money because people will not buy all my production. And if I make less, then I cannot satisfy all my customers and they may go to other suppliers. So I want it to be exactly equal to the demand, which is not an easy task, but you will learn if you go to business or take courses in operations research, you know how to, or economics, you can find this point, or you see how we can come up with that. So supply equals demand. The graph above model this scenario. According to the graph, at what price? Be careful. They said at what price, not at what quantity. At what price will supply equal demand for this particular? So you go to the point of intersection and read here. I think they divide by 2.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 10. 1, 2. So that's $15. Notice that in these problems, you have to select the answer on the solution paper. I didn't print it out because I'm solving right away here. Once an insect reaches its larval stage, its mass increases linearly for a short period of time and then slows down as it prepares to enter pupation. Suppose the larva of a certain species has an initial mass of 10 grams. So it starts at 10 and grows linearly from 0 to 48 until it reaches the larval stage. If after 48 hours, the mass, so 48 hours, the mass became 14, meaning it increased 4 grams in 48 hours, right? What was its mass in gram at t equals 6? So you can do it many ways. You can say increase per hour, increment per hour equals. It went from 10 to 14, so 14 minus 10 in 48 hours. So 1 over 12, 4 over 48 is 1 over 12 gram per hour. So they ask you, okay, so that's after 48 hours. How about after 6 hours? After 6 hours, the mass equals. It started at 10, and then it added 1/12 every hour, but I have 6 hours. 6 over 12 is 1/2, so you get 10.5 grams. So that would be the mass. In this problem, they tell you several values of the functions f of x and g of x are shown. What is the value of f of g of -1? Notice we start from the inside and go outside. So the first thing you have to go g of -1, meaning what is the value of the function g when x is -1? X is -1, g of x is 2. So that is exactly as if I'm telling you what is f of 2. But instead of saying directly what is the f of 2, I tell you what is the f of g of -1. G of x, x is -1. So this guy is called g of -1, which is 2. So you take the 2, replace g of -1, all of it by 2. So it becomes f of 2. If x is 2, f of 2 is 4. So the answer is 4. Number 19. Notice that the second half requires calculator, or you can use calculator. Number 19, it says if x plus 3i times 1 minus 2i can be represented as a plus bi, then what is the value of a, meaning the real portion? Notice that when I multiply, these two would give me real, and those two would give me imaginary. So I don't care about the bottom one, because this would give me 3i, this would give me -8i, but they want the real portion. So you don't have to solve everything. You say 4 times 1 plus 3i times -2i. So it's 4 plus I times I is -1 times -1 is +1. And 3 times 2 is 6, so you get 10. They want you to confuse you to write 4 minus 6. If that was 3i times 2i, yes, you will get 6i squared, which is -6. But here you have a negative, and I times I also is negative. They cancel each other, and you get +6. Finally, problem number 20, they say the maximum value of the data shown in the scatter plot occurs at x equals 56.25. X equals 56.25. Okay, which is this guy. If the data is modeled using quadratic regression, meaning it increases and decreases as a parabola, as a quadratic equation, and the model is an exact fit. So there is no deviation. It's the points that you see here are the actual points. Then what is the y value when x equals 90? Okay, so if x equals 56 and a quarter is the axis of symmetry, then a point, say 1 unit to the right and 0.1 unit to the left would have the same y value. 5 and 5 will have the same value. 15 and 15 will have the same value. So what we need to do is to say, oh, how far above 56 and a quarter is 90? 90 is how much to the right? This 90 right here, somewhere here, okay? So when you subtract, you get 0.7573, 33.75. That's how far to the right of the vertex is 90. So the value here is the same as the value 33.75 to the left of the vertex, right? So you would say, okay, so what is 56 and a quarter minus 33.75? 0, 5, 4, 2, 22.5. And sure enough, they give you 22.5. The y value is 50.5. So y equals 50.5. Did you understand that? Here is the vertex. Here is the vertex. So you can see if you go 1 square to the right and 1 square to the left, they have the same height. 2 squares to the right and 2 squares to the left, they have the same height. 3 and 3, 4 and 4 is not shown, but it keeps going like that. That's the definition of a quadratic formula. And since 90 is 33.75 to the right, it will have a y value exactly the same as a value of an x, 33.75 to the left of the vertex. And that's what we did. And sure enough, they have to give you the value. It's one of these, right? Because you don't have a calculator. You could have done it if you can do like a regression, but you didn't take regression, quadratic regression anyway now. Okay, so that's the first half. Hopefully, I don't know if the second half we can finish it in one sitting or we have 2 sessions to do it. Anyway, if you have any questions on this part or any other problem of SAT or in your course, please don't hesitate to let me know about it and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you get a great grade in your SAT exam. Best of luck and see you soon. Bye.